Okay, we're looking for Class 1 Berkshire Barrows.
Make sure I remember the mic for this part of the show. Getting into the Barrow Drive, and what a way to get started off. A really, really high quality pair of Berkshire Barrows to get started with, and I'll describe them briefly if I may, and then we'll let you know where they fall. The young man's Berkshire Barrow sits right here in front of me. I mean, this one's crossbred headed. I mean, extremely unique for a Berkshire in the way he feeds out of his front side of his shoulder. really cool in the shape to his skull and ear set. He leaves me with a really big paw, and I love how square he is from hock down. Relative to another Barrow in this drive, maybe not quite as expansive through the center part of his body, maybe not quite as far along in terms of body depth and flesh, but that one's extremely cool for a 240-pound Berkshire Barrow. Young lady that sits right over here on this side of the ring offers the absolute He-Man product-oriented Barrow in this drive that still maintains composure and collective nature in his skeleton. He certainly can get out and reach all day long. Is his shoulder a bit forward in his skeleton? You bet. Is he a bit more traditional in his look up front? Wants to roll his hip under him just ever so slightly, but that's pretty standard for the breed. Relative to these pair, I think you've got a traditional powerhouse Berkshire Barrow and one that's extremely unique, and would love to feed this one for Indy. Between the pair, I think we're going to go ahead and focus on today. Young lady right in front of me is first, young man second, but that's an ultra good pair of Berkshire Barrows. Take nothing away from the young lady in the purple long sleeve right in front of me. She's going to sit third. That one's almost identical in regards to his head shape of the young man's Barrow that sits in second. But as you get from that point back, he carries a bit more bark, and as you study him through in terms of genuine muscle shape and muscularity relative to the two ahead of him, I think he falls out of bay, and that's why he ends up there in third. The young lady then that rounds out the class offers an ultra-athletic, stout-featured Barrow that I can certainly appreciate in terms of his width of skeleton. Relative to the Barrows ahead of him, we need to add just a bit more feed out of the backside of his shoulder, make him a bit more muscular just in his general pattern all the way through. Give these exhibitors a nice round of applause on a good set of Barrows.
Sydney Rolls is your champion Berkshire exhibitor, and your homegrown champion. Cale Beck, your reserve champion and homegrown. Third to Kyla Jeffries, and fourth to Michaela Cobbler.
I don't know if I've been faced with a more challenging class in the entire day, and that's because you've got three Barrows that all have some discrepancies in terms of skeletal organization, and yet at the same time, the one that's probably the most right in where his skeleton needs to be is the one that's also favoring a leg, and so within that, you're sitting here going, where on earth do I go? I think when you do this and you consider structural integrity kind of goes out the window, you start almost butt cutting them just in terms of muscularity and shape. And with that said, the young man right in front of me is going to have your class winner. Simply offers the most amount of spread and shape up high. He leaves you the most impressive in terms of his dimension down through his hip. That's why he wins. After that, the next best one in terms of shapes, the young man right in front of me. This one certainly offers a bit more relative to the Barrow underneath him, and relative to the Barrow behind him, just isn't quite as shapely as you study him. Then the young lady that rounds out of here certainly has one that I can appreciate his softness and pliability to the center part of his body. We need to go ahead and just make him more expansive and bolder all the way through in terms of muscularity and move him up any higher. Give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause on a D-Rock Barrow class.
Henry Cummer, your first place exhibitor. Ethan Hansen second, and Libby Stratton in third.
certainly crank up the competition in the second Duroc Barrow class, and I'm extremely comfortable using the young man directly in front of me to win this particular set. Congratulations to the young man. Like this Red Barrow's ability to combine some fresh muscle shape and feedability through the center part of his body, still maintain some organization to his skeleton, and have some extras in terms of feature. Nice job to that young man. Second, third, and fourth, quite frankly, can get a little bit hodgepodged, and as we get working through them, I think the next best Barrow in terms of just fresh muscularity, because I think they all have their skeletal trade-offs, is going to be the young lady in the white blouse or white top that sits right in front of me. Certainly does a nice job. I think this Barrow's next best in the way he feeds out of his shoulder, the way he lays his chine bone in him, and the way he leaves me in terms of muscularity through the lower portion of his hip. Certainly need to make him go better off his rear leg. We need to relax his pastern and make him more comfortable, but that's a nice Barrow to be sitting in too. Third and fourth can have some sort because they're staler Barrows in regards to composition and freshness. They certainly need to be set down in their chine, but within the pair, I think the Barrow that's a bit more expansive in his body shape, I think he's a bit more comfortable in the way his rear leg sets within his framework, is going to be the young man's darker colored Barrow directly in front of me. He'll go next. Certainly a nice Barrow in that regard. Young man that rounds out the class is lighter in his pigment and color, which has no issue, and he's certainly broad pinned and really stout hipped. His bone work needs to get stouter in his rear leg, and he needs to be a bit more comfortable as he goes. Give these exhibitors a nice round of applause on a good set of Red Barrows.
Your first place exhibitor, Clark Dwanger. Second to Callie Cummer. Third, Henry Cummer. And fourth, Blake Belter.
We were working with our high school judging kids, getting ready for state contests. I'd love to be able to have this class in front of them and just talk and describe what you have. It falls together relatively logically, but there's an abundance of differences as you work on through. Within that, I think between the pair of just more product-oriented Barrows that are more comfortable in their skeletal build and assembly, there's just one that I think takes that comfort to another level. And at the same time, I think he maintains the most correct composure to his rear leg set. When you watch him drive right at me, I think he's the best in terms of reach up front. And when set into motion, he simply ties and is able to carry his skeleton in a more correct and, I guess, authoritative posture. And when you consider that, the young man there in the green plaid, rocking the cool green shades, is going to have your winner. Congratulations to him. Fresh Barrow with all sorts of good into his build. The young lady that comes right at me offers a burly one. I mean, he's the EST Barrow of this drive. He's the biggest chested. He's the biggest ended. Offers an abundance of shape. The problem is when you study him off to the side, he becomes disjointed when he gets in motion. He starts to come apart there at his elbow pocket, and then when he gets going on his rear foot, wants to rock to the outside of it and push his hock out a little further than ideal, but certainly a nice Barrow to be sitting in two. Third and fourth can be a bit closer if you want to make it that way, but I'm more comfortable using the young lady with the white top here for third. I think this one offers the next best amount of good in terms of fresh muscularity up high. I think he's the next best in terms of rear leg comfort, even though he's not perfect there. The young man that rounds out the class right here with the darker pigmented Barrow certainly has one that I can appreciate in terms of his look up front. He's clean jawed and extended there, but he's one that needs redesigned off both ends of his skeleton and needs to be a bit broader up high relative to the Barrows that sit in front of him. Give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause on a good set of deer eyes.
Chase Nobby, your first place exhibitor. Sophie Rolls, second. Third, Callie Cummer. And fourth, Henry Cummer.
You have a trio of red Barrows rounding out our red show that certainly show a bit more mileage in regards to their freshness of composition. Study them at the top side of their skeleton, and they're all showing a bit more wear. But within that, I think there's one Barrow that's purely the more collected show Barrow of the bunch. I think he offers a tremendous amount of good relative to his weight. Young lady right here in the peach top is going to have your class winner. Congratulations to her. Where he excels the other Barrows is not only is he as big-footed and stout forearmed as any of them, but when he gets in motion, he's more comfortable in the way his front foot can hit the surface. His hip rolls more correctly underneath his skeleton. I like that one to win this class quite a bit. Congratulations to the young lady. I think it gets close back and forth between these two exhibitors, but the young lady in the longer sleeve, the purple button down that's heading towards closest the outgate is going to sit in second. That one, I think, is just more composed in the way his rear leg sits underneath them. I think both of them, muscularity is about a wash. So I think that one's a bit more organized. He's a bit more collected, and that's why he slides in two. The young man rounds out this class with a pliable centered Barrow that certainly offers some spread when you study him to the top side. Unfortunately, when he leaves you, he gets the shortest and most uncoordinated in his hip and rear leg structure. We need to fix him there to move him up any higher. Give all the exhibitors a nice round of applause on a good set of red Barrows.
Austin Rolls, your first place exhibitor. Sophia Sullivan second, and Devin Ralston in third. Now we'll show for your champion Duroc.
Certainly been a fun red show to sort through, and we bring the 4 representatives back out here, and I think, with all due respect to the 2 other ones that I'm not going to mention, I think it's a pair of barrows that surface, and you have to maybe weigh out some differences. Young man's barrow off to my far right is one that I think relative to his weight, mass, and bulk at this particular stage, he's probably as genuine as any barrow in this particular drive. At the same time, I like the way he shoots out of the front side of his shoulder. He's really good through the front 2/3 of his skeleton. Where am I going to pick on this critter? I need to make him longer and just a nickel leveler out of his hip. I think that would make him balance just a skosh better from the side. And when we talk about balance from the side, there may not be a better one in this particular drive than the young man's barrow that sits directly in front of me. I mean, that one, the way his skeleton can come together and be so comfortable and fit and piece all together extremely well. The downside is on that one, there's 2 biggies. When you study them in terms of composition, that one has plenty of bark on them. Peel that back and how much genuine muscle shape sits there. Study him coming and going is my even bigger issue. This one wants to cave through his elbow pocket and chest and knee, and when you study him going away, that one needs squared up from hock to ground, but that one from the side's killer in terms of organization and comfort to his skeleton and balances up so well. I think that's a nice barrow. I think the young man's barrow I talked about within there. I think if we're going to maintain some consistency in what I've been running with today, I've got to keep market livestock especially extremely genuine and square in their build to read like market critters. For that, the young man in the red plaid is going to win. Congratulations.
Clark Dwanger is your champion Duroc exhibitor. We'll bring back that 2nd and 3rd class to show for your reserve champion.
Brought in that 2nd place barrow, and we talked about in that respective class, he was the next best in terms of fresh muscularity up high. I think when we come back in here for reserve, I'd be remiss to leave out one that's extremely fun to look at, especially from the side. Young man in the green shades is going to win this, or be reserved in this particular group. Congratulations, buddy.
Chase Nobby is your reserve champion. Next in the show arena is your champion class of Hampshire barrels.
certainly some good pieces to work with at the top end of this Hampshire breed. And I think when we get out here, the totals Barrow, the drive, is going to be the young man with the shorts there in the far corner. He's going to be your class winner and champion within the Hampshire division. I think the biggest reason that one surfaces is because relative to all the Barrows out here, he's the best one in regards to keeping a big, square, stout back in him and a thick end. And at the same time, when he goes to the surface, he's relatively genuine and secure, drives with a pretty good pattern and posture from the side. I'm okay with that Barrow winning this particular class. Second for me is just as easy to go ahead and use the young man right in front of me. There's some things in this class that this one's as good as any on. I love his elevation and look up front. That's a slick-jawed one that certainly offers some spread up high and gets even stouter as he leaves you. The problem is when he leaves you, he wants to go ahead and push out, and his rear foot gets out the side of his framework and his hock. We need to just secure him up there, and I can use that one to win. After that, I think the next best Barrow is going to be the young lady directly in front of me. I know he's a little lighter in weight, but this one relative to his weight is certainly boxy and still relatively agile in his build, offers an abundance of shape. I just need to make him bigger in his kind and pattern. Right after that, I'm going to go ahead and use the young man directly in front of me. Certainly like this off-belted Barrow's ability to lay some muscularity and shape up on his skeleton. Now we need to redesign him off both ends to make him more comfortable. And then the young lady rounds out the class with one that's certainly an attractive lightweight prospect that needs more days on feed, but certainly today he just gets out-horsed in terms of power. Give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause on a good set of Hampshire Barrows.
Your champion Hampshire exhibitor Damon Spear, reserve champion Ryan Miller, third in the class Ashton Ginling, Kane Ginling fourth, and Amelia Hartman in fifth. Next you got your land race champion class.
Single entry land race in this particular class, but I'll tell you, one that can certainly take on a bit more heat because what we've preached all day long is trying to keep these market hogs just really good and secure in their skeleton, lay a bunch of shape and muscle on top of that and make them organized. This one does all that and more. Congratulations to the young man on a nice entry for a landrace Barrow.
Neil Sullivan exhibits your champion landrace.
Compliments to the young man on his single spotted entry. Front 2/3 of this spot Barrow's skeleton are pretty fun to look at. Comes at you big chested with a big old blade, and from there feeds with an immense amount of expansion to the up top part of his skeleton and through his upper rib as he leaves you. That one's stout pin. We need to make him a nickel leveler and more comfortable in the way his hip hooks up to his skeleton, but that's a good fresh muscled spot Barrow that certainly is a nice representative. Give all the exhibitors a nice round of applause, or this young man as he exits.
Abram Spear, your champion spot exhibitor. Next we have a champion class of Yorkshire Barrows. We have two classes. Sorry.
Nice trio of Yorkshire Barrows to get us started in this breed. Although I think it's a pair of fresh muscled Barrows that are more organized at surface within there, I tend to gravitate towards the young man with the middle school makeup job on his Barrow right in front of me to go ahead and win. Congratulations to him. Wide out aside. Certainly like the young man's Barrow's ability to be more comfortable in the way his spine hooks up to his hip. He can get out and drive, and he's more genuine than when he drives right at you. And when he leaves, he's plenty stout, but I still call his hot good enough relative to his framework. Nice Barrow for the young man to go ahead and start with. The young man that sits there and comes in second right here off to the end, certainly one that I can appreciate. Man, this Barrow is so good at the top side of his skeleton, a big old ditch down his back that you could pour all sorts of water down. When he leaves you, he's still secure and where his hock sets in there. The problem is from the outside, this Barrow needs to be longer hipped and tie him more comfortably right there at his ham loin pocket. And then when you study him coming right at you, I need to make him more genuine in the way he is from his knee down to his front foot. But that's a nice Barrow to be sitting in too. Young lady that rounds out the class has a big-backed, big-ended Barrow that offers an abundance of bone and structure. The problem is we need to redesign them off both ends to move them up any higher. But please give all the exhibitors in this class a nice round of applause.
Clark Dwenger, your first place exhibitor. Second to Tyler Kuntz, and third to Michaela Cobbler.
Nice class to round out the Yorkshire breed, and within there I think it's a pair of Barrows that surface, and it's the young ladies on the opposite side of me. Certainly a pair that we can cuss and discuss and their differences. Young lady that sits directly in front of me certainly has one that's as big featured and big pawed as anything in this particular drive. Love that one's jawline, and when he's set in motion, everything reads comfortable about his skeleton. I think where he really has a decisive advantage over the other Barrow that's in contention is when you actually read him through the lower portion of his skeleton, he's a bit more genuine through his chest and front knee, and then at the same time, he's bolder through his forerib and lower portion of his body cavity. That's where he really excels, along with his elite look from the side. The other one that's in contention is the young lady right here in front of me. This one offers the advantage in particular class in regards to shape and turn out of the backside of his shoulder. He's a bit more muscular right up there, and he certainly offers more right through the lower portion of his hip. At the same time, when we get off to the outside of him, he gets a little flatter through the lower portion of his skeleton. Basically what I'm saying is the carpet doesn't match the drapes. That one's big up high, but not as square and robust underneath. Needs to be stouter in his ankle. Because of that, young lady right in front of me wins this class. Young lady over here is second. Young man right here right in front of me is a nice third place Barrow. Certainly one that I can appreciate from his look from the side. He's short spine and relatively balanced. At the same time, when you look at the lower portion of his skeleton, we need to clean him up through his neck. We need to make him bolder underneath and stouter in his bone work. Please give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause on a good set of Yorkshire Barrows.
Leanne McGuire, your first place exhibitor. Kenzie Rolls second, and Abram Spear in third. Now we'll show for your champion Yorkshire.
probably as high quality of a pair of class representatives as we've had in any particular breed today. And I think that the showmen in the families behind him should be commended. Extremely proud of what sits out here. With that said, I think there's one that simply packs more punch. He comes at you more manly, especially up high, and that one leaves you like a monster going away. Young man sitting right in front of me is going to have your champion. Congratulations.
Clark Dwanger exhibits your champion, Yorkshire Barrow.
We talked about that class. It was a nice pair of Barrows to surface, and the young man brings out a really good representative. I talked about that one. The front two-thirds of his skeleton, I can dig this one. He's stout and he's powerful, especially at the top side of his blade. He's big in his forearm. We need to hook his hip up a little bit better. We need to elongate that hip to make it more comfortable as he goes, but that's certainly a muscle, product-oriented Barrow. I think when we stick to what made that other Barrow so cool is he was a stout creature that still offered presence and organization. Within here now, I got to go back and forth. I think, though, the next best Barrow that's the most unique in his build and kind, and I think offers a ton of goods, the young lady right in front of me, she'll have your reserve. Congratulations.
Leanne McGuire is your reserve champion, Yorkshire exhibitor. Next, we'll have 4 classes of lightweight crossbreds.
fun class of light crosses to work through, and if this kind of sets the tone, it's going to be a fun cross for a Barrow show. There's a trio of barrows, I think, that surface, and I had those exhibitors slow down just a minute and relax while I was sorting through the last 4 through 4, 5, and 6. I think when you bring the barrows back out here, the biggest question I've got to ask myself is there's one particular barrow of that trio. Is he big enough in his kind? Is he clean enough in his gland? Is his body shape appropriate enough for his weight in this particular group? If he is, he wins this thing, and he wins it in a smoke. I think when you study all the extra good this barrow packs to him, it's really, really hard to ignore. And for that, I go ahead and excuse the gland. I excuse his underline. I think he's big enough in his kind. Young lady right in front of me is going to have your class winner. Congratulations. For me, second's a nice landing spot right here on the young man in the green shades. I like this one quite a bit. This is a big pawed barrow that's much more my type in terms of frame size, stature, and pattern for this particular weight. But at the same time, relative to that barrow ahead of him, he just gives up so much more right through the center part of his body. This one flattens and gets more tucked up in his flank. If we can just get this one progressed just a bit more relative to that, he can push to win this particular class. Young lady's calico barrow that wants to run like a thoroughbred the entire time certainly is an attractive critter from the side. Tall-shouldered, slick-jawed, and really broad-mugged. Study his hip and rear leg, and I think it's appropriate enough. Other than the fact he wants to rant himself just ragged as he runs out here, we need to go ahead and make him fuller and more dimensional through the center part of his cavity. We need to make him broader up high to move him on up. After that, 4, 5, and 6 all have some trade-offs, but the next most comfortable barrow I have to use out here is the young man's barrow that's right in front of me, the black barrow. This one's certainly dimensional and broad when you study him in his makeup. Certainly offers more product even than a couple barrows directly in front of him, but he starts sacrificing some build and balance from the side. That's what slides him down into 4. 5's going to be the young lady in the purple top that goes ahead and goes away. That one's extremely dense in his muscularity and shape. Need to redesign him in his skeleton, but certainly one that has all sorts of power. The young lady then that rounds out the class directly in front of me, his height isn't what sorts him there. It's the fact that when you really study him in terms of build, this one's the most counterfeit of the bunch. He offers the least amount of shape. He closes up underneath. But that's certainly one that ironically has a pretty stout blade and forearm. Give all those exhibitors a nice round of applause on a competitive lightweight cross class.
Shaylin McGuire, your first place exhibitor. Chase Nobby second. Kinsey Rolls third. Fourth to Bryce Eckstein, fifth Marissa Eckstein, and Sierra Copeland in sixth.
A relatively cut and dry class as we work through this particular set. With that said, I'm really comfortable landing on the young lady with the kind of flowy top there down to the far end with the calico barrow. That one's going to go ahead and win this particular class. Congratulations to her. You can crack this calico barrow open right there at his chest and especially at his knee down. You crack that one open and make him just a bit more comfortable in the angle and set to his shoulder, and he's a heater in this particular division because from his blade back, that one offers an abundance of raw shape that still feeds with some body cavity, and when you study him going away, that's a big paw that's still square and true. After that, for me, it's just as easy to use the young lady exhibitor 153 right here in front of me. I'm going to go ahead and use her for second. I think this is the next best bear in terms of organization, still adding some shape and dimension up high. I like to see him stouter in his ankle and a bit stouter as he get down to the surface, no doubt about it. But I think this one's by far the next best quality bear in this particular set. Third's going to be the young lady in the purple top that sits right here in front of me. I like this dude's body shape. It's a big cavity bear, offers a ton of spread up high. When you study him going away, he's pretty stout pinned. Underneath, he starts to invert in his skeleton, closes up, and gets more frail in his bone work. That's where we got to tweak him. Fourth is going to be the young lady there, 220, I believe, 6 there along the rail. That bear certainly offers some show bear proportions in terms of frame size, moderation, and still adds some body shape relative to the ones ahead of him. We need to make him more comfortable in the way he ties out of his shoulder and into his top line. And then the young lady that rounds out the class there in the white top with the white Barrow certainly has one that's comfortable in his build and has grown to this point. Relative to the show ring, we need to make him stouter and add some extras. Give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause on a good set of Barrows.
Sophie Rolls, your first place exhibitor. Laura Moster, second. Third, Marissa Eckstein. Fourth to Sophie Volts. And fifth to Gracie Spurgeon.
Competitive top end in this particular class, and the young lady directly in front of me brings a gun to a knife fight in this particular set. A bear that offers an elite look up front, still broad in his dimension up high and really square pin. We need to reel him in a skosh going away, no doubt about it. He pushes the envelope, but at the same time, in this particular set appears, he's the elite show bear that packs plenty of muscle. Young man directly in front of me certainly offers a nice bear sitting in 2. Plenty of shape working up high and through his back, and as he leaves you, the problem is we need to make him more comfortable in his rear leg assembly. We need to make him more correct in the way his shoulder sets in his skeleton, but at the same time, that's a muscular bear to be sitting in 2. 3 is the young lady's blue bear directly in front of me, one that's pliable about his center cavity, and what I appreciate is he does hinge just a bit better in the way his rear leg hits the surface. The problem is he gets two-dimensional as you study him coming and going relative to his peers ahead of him. We need to make him fresher and just a bit more descriptive in his shape. The young ladies bear that wants to see that outgate anyway, we'll go ahead and hit him in, fourth hole in this particular class. Certainly one I can appreciate his body shape, but at the same time, we certainly need to make him more opened up and stouter all the way through. And then the young lady that rounds out the class has one that has a feedable look from the side, certainly comfortable in his build and more commercial in his look. Drop him in a show ring. We need to make him stouter, more powerful all the way through. Give these exhibitors a nice round of applause. Good set of crossbred bears.
Evelyn McGuire, your first place exhibitor. Second, Bryce Eckstein. Third, Shaylee Volts. Fourth, Gracie Spurgeon. And fifth, Katie Worth.
Although I know I should have multiple ladies along ringside that dig in on the Barrow I start in this particular set, because who doesn't love cheetah print? Young man right in front of me is going to have your class winner. Congratulations to him. In this particular set, he's the boxy, stout-built show Barrow that offers a ton of shape, still remains functional as build, ... all the above. Congratulations to the young man for having your class winner. It can get closer, second on down if you want to make it, but I'm comfortable landing on the young lady's belted Barrow that sits right here in front of me. He's the next best in terms of just spread and dimension all the way through. He'll simply go to the rail with more product. That's why he sits in 2. I think he gets the tightest between 3rd and 4th. Young lady's narrow belted Barrow I'm more comfortable tying into, largely because when you think about him from a cutability standpoint, this one reads with more trim muscle shape up high. He's more dimensional through the lower portion of his hip. Certainly gives up some width through the lower portion of his skeleton. Not quite as bold in the center part of his body as the young lady that then slides into 4th. Certainly a nice blue belted Barrow that's certainly pliable in his body shape. Maybe offers a skosh more bone, especially up front. But at the same time, when you peel back that bark, I don't think he has as much genuine shape and turn up high as the Barrows that are ahead of him. And then the young lady that rounds out the class with the more commercial-oriented Barrow certainly has one that's functional. It's got body shape. Now we need to make him stouter and more dimensional all the way through to move him up any higher. Give all the exhibitors a nice round of applause. A good set of crossbred Barrows.
K.O. Beck, your first place exhibitor. Second to Sierra Copeland. Third, Michaela Hilton Beidel. Fourth, Kylie Weber. And fifth, Sarah Lamping. Now we'll show for your lightweight crossbred champion.
Plenty happy with the lightweight representatives we have out here in this particular drive. Each one of them brings some value to the table, and again, trying to keep them organized and still keeping them tricked out show barrows is no easy task relative to this breed. But at the same time, I think there's some really good pieces that sit amongst here. I think the elephant in the room, or in this particular drive, is purely one of the barrows that came out of class. Is he too wide going away? If you know, some folks along ringside are gonna be like, heck no, he's good. Other ones are gonna be like me and say, it's a little close. But at the same time, when you really study where his rear leg sets, I think it's acceptable enough, it's functional enough, he utilizes it well from the side, and when this one gets going from the side and coming right at you, that's a show pony. Young lady right in front of me is going to have your champion. Congratulations.
Evelyn McGuire is your lightweight crossbred champion exhibitor. We'll bring back that second from class 13 and show for your reserve champion.
When we get back out here, I think it's It's a trio Barrows, with all due respect, the second place one that comes back in. We talked about that Barrow's ability to feed with plenty of shape up high and going away. We needed to make him a bit more comfortable in his skeleton. After that, I think the other three Barrows are all equally at play. We talked about the young ladies Barrow in class. That one offers a ton of good. He's so boxy, and yet at the same time, his rear leg sits really well within his framework. The question is that I'm guessing 225, 230 Barrow, is he really big enough in his kind and really offer enough continuation in terms of skeleton to be able to pack on enough weight to keep him surfacing up? And then you got a couple other Barrows that are a bit bigger in their kind, but both have trade-offs, right? The Calico Barrow, certainly from his shoulder back, is so fresh in his shape, so good in his rear leg set, and he's so big-footed as he leaves you. We need to redesign him up front, but that one's interesting. Cheetah, certainly love the color pattern. I dig how square and so true this Barrow is off either end of his skeleton. Clean him up through his throat, and we've got a show Barrow on our hands. Young man's Cheetah's reserve. Congratulations.
K.O. Beck exhibits your reserve champion lightweight crossbred.
Fun class to get started in our heavy division. With that said, I'm the most comfortable and I'm real good with landing on them. Young lady on the far side of the ring is going to go ahead and have your class winner. Congratulations. Certainly need to pick this dude up on his front feet. Past that, that's a stout mug with a really, really broad spread between his eyes. And from that point back, everything matches. He's big-bladed, he's big-backed, he's big-ended, and he's big rear-legged. Everything goes the right way. Congratulations to the young lady. After that, if you want to make it tough, you can. I think, I think second and third's probably your closest call. But even with that, I think there's one that's more genuine in his turn up high, and it's the young man's Barrow sitting right here in front of me. That one offers more fresh spread, and as he works through, he's more muscular down his back. He offers more turn and dimension as he leaves you. He needs to be squared up and more genuine underneath. That's my biggest issue with him. He's got to get bigger feet. He's got to be bolder underneath. Young man's Barrow right in front of me is going to sit third. Certainly one that's next best in terms of spread. Adds a little more bark than maybe ideal. Needs to be redesigned in his hip, but that's a big body cavity that still motors. Congratulations to the young man. Cheetah may not be quite the same mold as his similar colored counterpart in the last division, but he offers a good look from the side. He's certainly comfortable in his build. We need to open him up underneath. We need to make quite a bit more actual muscle shape when you study him up high. Young man's Black Barrow rounds out this particular class. Certainly one that I can appreciate in terms of stoutness to his rear leg, and he certainly offers some hip as you watch him walk away, but at the same time he needs redesigned and more comfortable off either end of his skeleton before he can move up any higher. Give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause, a nice set of crossbred barrows.
Sophie Rolls, your first place exhibitor. Grant Bauman second. Chase Nobby in third. Cale Beck fourth, and Oliver Moster in fifth.
Get into this class, and I think just genuine muscle shape kind of leads the way and sets the tone in this particular set. When you consider that the young man's predominantly a white bear that sits right here in the middle of the ring is going to win this particular class. Congratulations to you, young man. Certainly one that easily packs the most amount of just real shape when you study him. The top side of his skeleton, when he leaves you, he's still bold and offers plenty through the lower portion of his hip, square in his rear leg as he leaves you. From the side, could we drop down just a bit more body shape to make him balance more appropriately? Could we set him back in his shoulder ever so slightly? Sure. That's a good barrow, though, to win this particular class. Congratulations to the young man. Just as comfortably, I can land on the young man's blue-belted barrow that sits there on the other side in the shorts. He'll certainly be a nice barrow to be sitting in second. From the outside, I love this one's posture. He's tall-shouldered, jet-fronted, and certainly attractive in the way his skeleton comes together. The problem is when you study him coming right at you, he wants to fade away in his chest and knee, and then study him up high. I need a bit more turn relative to the white barrow ahead of him to move him up any higher. That's certainly a balanced, good-looking barrow from the side. Young lady's tricolored barrow that sits out here in the middle of the ring is going to sit in 3. Certainly a nice barrow that offers some pliability to the top part of his body cavity. Certainly offers some feature when you study him at the ground and a decent head. But at the same time, study him up high, he gets a little more bland in his muscle shape. Study him at the base of his skeleton, he wants to close up from hock down. He needs his front feet to get a little bit truer as well. But that's a nice barrow there for the young lady. Congratulations. You got a pair of more commercially focused barrows then that round out this particular class. Young lady on my left with the white barrow is going to go ahead and be next in line. I like that one. He offers more as you study him going away. And then at the same time, he's plenty good in terms of body shape. The young man's red hog then that rounds out this particular class certainly offers some value from just a quality skeleton and feetability through the center part of his body, but at the same time, he needs more extras and stoutness to move up any higher in the show ring. Give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause. Good set of crossbred barrows.
Oliver Moster, your first place exhibitor. Second, Damon Spear. Third, Kyla Jeffries. Fourth, Rachel Lamping. And fifth to Matthew Siebert.
As we go ahead and get a little shower by Mother Nature, we'll go ahead and jump into this particular class. I think it's pretty easy to land on the young man in the plaid long sleeve shirt driving middle part of the ring to be your class winner in this particular set. And it's largely because he does such a good job from the side of maintaining some body spread. And as you go ahead and get back through his hip, that one's square pinned, authoritative in the way his rear leg hits the surface, stout in his feature and plenty of shape working through him. He's the best combination show bearer in this set. Congratulations to the young man. Second is going to be the young man in the long sleeve red shirt that's kind of working his way with the chrome barrel along the rail. This one's the burly back, the big-ended one that offers as much shape as anything in class. Study him from the side. We need to make him more comfortable off either end of his skeleton. I think that helps secure his travel, makes him a bit more attractive in his posture. After that, I think you've got 3 hogs that, quite frankly, are a bit more comfortable, as one shows you, on a feeding floor. When you put them in a show ring, I think you've got some hogs you got to separate, and quite frankly, in their environment, you'd simply butt cut them. So with that said, the young man here with the plaid shirt and the good-looking flow to his hair along the outside rail is going to go ahead and be next. Certainly appreciate that one in terms of shape, especially going away. Next after that, it's going to go ahead and be the young lady's barrow right here in front of me. A little bigger ended barrow that offers the better upside in terms of cutout value. And then I'm going to round off with the young lady right here in front of me. Certainly one I can appreciate in terms of feedable look. We need to add more to them to move them up any higher. Give all these exhibitors a nice round of applause on a good set of crossbred barrows.
Tyler Kuntz is your first place exhibitor. Grant Bauman second. Eli Lamping third. Lydia Neese fourth. And Caroline Neese fifth.
Certainly have one barrow in here that was bred for one purpose, and then the rest of them that arguably could have been fed for bred and just generated for a little different endpoint, and that's completely fine. Drop them in a show ring in a youth livestock event, kind of sticks out. Young lady's belted barrow directly in front of me is going to win this particular class. Congratulations to her. He's the EST barrow. He's the show pig in this particular lineup. He wins. Congratulations to her. Next best, after this, you're really just, it's all down to cutability and muscularity and how they're going to hang. And so after that, the young man directly in front of me is going to go ahead and have your second place barrow. Easily the next best in terms of dimension and spread all the way through. Congratulations to that young man. Next after that, for me, I'm more comfortable going ahead and using the young lady's speckled hip barrow right in front of me for third. Certainly one that I can appreciate in regards to a little extra shape relative to his cohorts. That's why he ends up where he does. Young lady then that comes in next right here in front of me is going to be next in line. Certainly one that, again, next best in terms of muscle shape. Then the young man's bigger pattern but a little bit flatter hip barrow rounds out the particular group. Certainly a good set of pigs. Please put your hands together for all the exhibitors as they exit the ring.
Sydney Rolls, your first place exhibitor. Jane Lamping, Noah Hilton Beidel second.
as we wrap up our heavyweight division and come in for champion. Probably had as much diversity in type and kind in the heavyweight division as we did in the light, as opposed to the lightweight group. And when I get in here and I study this particular set, it shows itself when you bring in your class winners. At the same time, there's a trio of barrows, I think, that probably offer a bit more of a show barrow look with some stouter pieces, and yet within that trio, there's a pair that I think it really comes down to that just bring a lot of bone and feature and substance to the table. Within that set, I think there's one that's just a bit more consistent in the way his skeleton wants to hit the surface. I think he's truer when he leaves me. I think he's a bit fresher when you study him, especially the base of his chest. At the same time, I need to pick him up in his front feet. We've talked about that in this group, but he's heavy enough in his weight. He's boxy enough in his build. He's super comfortable in his ability to cover the ring. I'm good with using this one. Young lady right in front of me is going to have your champion heavy. Congratulations.
Sophie Rolls exhibits your champion heavyweight crossbred.
Drop that second place in, and that's certainly a good barrow in terms of fresh spread at the top side of the skeleton. Good bodied, and certainly appreciate his ability to get out and reach. He needs more at the base of his skeleton in terms of feature and width, but certainly one that I can appreciate for the good that he brings. I think we'd be remiss without leaving this, without utilizing the other barrow we talked about in that particular duo. Is he perfect off either end of his skeleton? No. But with what we had to work with in here, he's the next best in terms of substance. He's a power hog that certainly offers enough flexibility for me. Young lady right in front of me will go ahead and have reserve heavy. Congratulations.
Sydney Rolls exhibits your reserve champion heavyweight crossbred. We're going to give them a second to get back. Spray the pigs off for a second. Take about a 3 or 4 minute breather before your grand champion drive. We'd like to thank JCD Livestream, Josh Pohl, Austin Hammond, Haley Wilhoit, and Darren Ego King, Airwave Networks LLC, and Trent Linville for setting up our live stream. We'd like to thank all of our donors for our trophies. They are Jacob and Aaron Minchofer, GEI Fluid Power, Odyssey Full Service Salon, Spear Show Pigs, Crumb Trucking, Greensburg Soy, Waffle Valley Ag, Lowe's Pellet and Grain, Cummer Farms, the Norman Young Farm, Danny and Michelle Spear, Halcomb Home Center, Waffle Valley Ag, Spear Family Show Pigs, Owen and Della Men's Chauffeur, the Ripley County Pork Producers, Steve Pitts Family, Paget Family, and Danny and Michelle Spear. Thanks to all those trophy donors for supplying and supporting 4-H. Okay, your grand champion drive, your Berkshire breeder exhibitor is Sydney Rolls from Greensburg. Your Duroc champion, Clark Dwenger from Delaware. Your Hampshire champion, Damon Spear from Holton. Your land race champion exhibitor, Neil Sullivan from Napoleon. Your spot champion, Abram Spear from Holton. Your Yorkshire champion, Clark Dwenger from Delaware. Your lightweight crossbred, Evelyn McGuire from Versailles. And your heavyweight crossbred, Sophie Rose from Greensburg. Your grand champion drive.
Showmen want to go ahead and relax, you can for a second. I'm not going to lay a Dr. Phil speech over everybody, but at the same time, I think it's certainly one that we ought to take a moment to recognize. It's been a little bit of a weird year maybe. And so we'll go ahead and make a couple acknowledgments if I could. I mean, first off, how good does it feel to actually be in a live show ring and a live show? I mean, the virtual deal is fun and all. This feels good, doesn't it? I was talking to the folks there at the table as we were sitting there in intermission, and I told them, I said, dang it, especially these tenure members, these seniors, my gosh, they've had everything axed the entire spring semester. If we can we just have a mother flipping live show? Can we get 4-H to happen? Can we have the fair happen? So I can't tell you guys enough. I just got done doing the marathon on Saturday for us. We put a 60-page document in Purdue, much like I'm sure your county did, and we made it out alive. We had a hug show. It was awesome. And so I can personally tell you how much time, effort, and just thought it takes to try to check all the hoops off. Even if you don't really agree with the hoops that are there, we still had to jump through them. And because of that, I think the biggest crowd, the MVP of this show this year, is going to be your staff that put all this together, and anybody in this barn that had to say, please give them a round of applause. Guys, I've cussed and discussed the pigs. I think each one, relative to their breed, are extremely good. At the same time, there's going to be some exceptions within here. You've heard me preach all day. We've got to make them show bearers because they're in a show ring environment. We can trick them out with muscle all day long, but they still got to be able to utilize it. They've still got to have a look. They've still got to have some presence. We've talked it all day long. If we could, before I fire these kids back up and we start going out here to pick you a champion, because I will tell you, I'm not going to get in here and get long-winded. I'm going to pick your champ. I'm going to pick your reserve. This is the last time on the mic. So again, thank you from me for letting me work with your kids, because I know we've got showmanship to come, but a lot of folks, this is prime time. So please, thank you for the opportunity. It's been great. But if you could, give these kids a big round of applause as we go ahead and fire them back up.
Evelyn. That's a lightweight crossbred, correct? Evelyn McGuire is your grand champion barrel exhibitor with her lightweight crossbred. Bring back that reserve lightweight crossbred champion to show for your reserve grand champion. That is also your homegrown grand champion. Clark Dwanger's Yorkshire Barrow is your reserve grand champion. We will need to show for your reserve grand champion homegrown, so some of you stay in place. We're looking for Chase Nobby's Duroc.
My umbrella. Is it still back there? My umbrella.
Well, I'll go ahead and make a comment because the homegrown thing, it's pretty cool when you can have your Grand Barrow also slide in and be your homegrown champ. And we drop back out here. I think there's several extremely worthy contemporaries that come back out here for the homegrown reserve division. I think within that, there's probably a trio of Barrows maybe within this set that I gravitate to initially. The young lady's Yorkshire's so cool from the side, so big-footed and comfortable in his build and can cover the surface all day long. Get right in behind him, and that one just needs a shot more. He needs to be opened up through the center part of his body, needs to be square going. Love the young man's Red Bear that's sitting right in front of me. That one doesn't miss a step the entire time. So good-headed with an incredible amount of body shape, fairly broad-backed. We just talked about him. If we could just make this one so much more genuine underneath, open him up going away, make him a bit more true as he comes right at you, that one's pretty fun to look at as well. I think there's one more bear that just probably epitomizes the genuine build, skeleton, and stoutness that we're talking about while still maintaining, in my opinion, enough look. It's going to be the young lady's crossbred. He's going to go ahead and be reserve homegrown. Congratulations.
Sophie Rolls with her heavyweight crossbred champion is your reserve grand champion homegrown. We're going to take about a 10-minute break before junior showmanship. About 10-15 minutes. So junior showmen kind of go back, get animals ready, and we'll be back in about 15 minutes for junior showmanship.
Kevin.
Okay, this is our first call for junior showman. Junior showmanship. Those 4-Hers from 3rd to 5th grade. We're going to have 2 classes in junior showmanship. So group 1, junior showmanship. You can be making your way to the makeup area. Group 1, junior showmanship.
beer before bedtime, you will throw up.
Get a beer. Get a beer. IPA beer or
Free. It's like me.
Coors Light. That makes sense. I need it too. That's why I said throw up.
Grant, ready for this next round?
I don't think he's gonna do it.
Okay.
He's not gonna make it.
Well, you're the showmanship.
So as we get going through these showmanship divisions, we're certainly, especially as we're starting at the younger side of things, it's going to be challenging for some of these showmen to keep the hogs out of the outgate area and try to get them to drive. I'm fully aware of that. And because of that, I'm going to, especially when we have a couple heats, I'm going to make some pretty quick calls on who needs to stay back so we can save some gas in the tank for the final drive, because otherwise it's not going to do anybody any good. So within this set, I think there's a couple showmen that have probably done the most consistent job from start to finish in this quick little preview heat. And within that's going to be the young man in the red and blue multicolored plaid shirt with the Yorkshire gilt. He'll come back. Then the young man with the, what do you want to call it, peach long sleeve shirt there in the corner with the red gilt. He'll go ahead and come back as well. Go ahead and get those girls taken back and get them, a little rested up. We'll go ahead and work back. The showmen that are left, certainly, all I could ask is to spend just a bit more time driving those hogs in less comfortable places at home, is how I phrase it to the young kids that I coach. I tell them, go take them at home. Every time you take them out, go take them somewhere they've never been. And if you do that every time, your end result oftentimes is a pig that's used to just going where they've never been. And so as a result, I think that'll help these youth a bunch. But please, could you put your hands together for the first heat of junior showmen? Probably a bit more competitive heat within this particular drive. With that said, I'm still comfortable with Kate taking two back. Young man back there with that red Barrow, just chill and hang out there, man. I don't want you to get him any more tired out and beat up than what he's already going to get later on. Go ahead, you'll be coming back. Young lady directly in front of me with the Yorkshire Guild will be coming back as well. The other two that I've got on the outside looking in, the young man in the short sleeve teal shirt does a real nice job. My challenge to him would be just a bit more aggressive in your whip placement, especially that go button works a little better through the center part of their body rather than it does in their hip. So if you might want to go ahead and shift your utensil back there just a bit. The young lady with the white top certainly does a nice job. I love her eye contact and awareness of where I'm at. If I could just work with her, it would be to slide her off of that hog's head and shoulders as frequently. Slide them back there, get your leg about where that hip pocket is, and then start driving the hog forward. I think you'll more consistently get a drive out of that particular hog. Give these exhibitors a nice round of applause. Good set of showmen. Looking forward to the finals. I'm going to ask you to hang out here a second. I'm going to roll them out. Well, I have a feeling if I drive these suckers about 5 more minutes, we're not going to have any pigs left in the middle of the ring, so I better go ahead and keep moving on with it. I think it's a really good set of junior showmen, and there's particularly 3, but we'll go ahead and talk them, bottom up and give some criticism and some help so that they're able to move forward. I mean, my goodness, this isn't the finish line by any means in your career, so let's take something home and work with it. So within this particular set, 4th place is going to be the young man in the peach long sleeve shirt down in the far end. I think that showman does an outstanding job of eye contact. When he can get that gilt rolling, that one's eye contact's really good. He does a great job of being aware of where I'm at. I need to see him use his utensil more consistently through the center part of that one's body. Smacking on the hips, not really the way to go in my opinion. And then, I think as those two would just spend more time, I think they'll drive more consistently. 3rd place for me, and I think 2nd and 3rd is an absolute toss-up. And I say this because showmanship is also, in my opinion, the culmination of the day. When you consider that, I think it's really close between the young man and down there at the green glass, the green shades, who's going to end up in 3rd, and then my 2nd place person. That young man in the green shades has done a great job and has his moments where he absolutely shines. That Barrow and him, when they're on the same page, I'd put him up against anybody in this age group. The problem is the Barrow gets a little hard-headed, and then when that happens, he at times wants to float up too high on its head. A very common issue within this age group, but at the same time, when he does that Barrow gets confused, he decides he's going to bulldog him, and he takes him down to the corner. The problem is when that dude slides back and they get their show together, he's as good as anyone out here. We can make that a bit more consistent. Those two are a pretty good team. 2nd's going to be the young lady with the pink mask going down the far end. Certainly does a really nice job. My things with her will be maybe a little more awareness of where she's at in the ring when she does her turns. And then that gilt's probably been pretty good for her relative to what I've got to work with out here. If I can get just a bit more eye contact and ring awareness, I think that's what takes her to the next level because she's absolutely cool, calm, and collected. The gilt represents that as they go. Young man right in front of me, you've been sticking it on hard all day long, and I think you've done a really, really good job. You're my winner in this particular group. You keep going at it, all right, man? Put in the work. Congratulations to all the exhibitors. Give them all a nice hand.
Abram Spear is your junior showmanship champion. And Abram, you can come back for intermediate.
you're going to find out as I go through each of these age groups, I'm going to expect the skin to get a little thicker. I'm going to expect the showman to get a bit more intense because we're out of Little League now. Now we're getting up to a little bit faster pitch, and you better be able to step up in that batter's box and swing. And when you do that, we're going to go ahead and keep you back. In this particular group, I've got 4 showmen out here that are going to see the out gate right now, and that's the downer. But I'll tell you, they've all had moments where they've really shined today. I'm not leaving without something to take home. So believe me, I'll give up some productive criticism on all of them. Young lady directly in front of me, I love her posture. I love her demeanor. She's intense as intense can be, and her eye contact's killer. I need her to right there, that biggest problem when that gilt wants to bury her head in the corner, she's got to identify where she has to be on that pig and that gilt to get her to drive forward and get the heck out of there. So she's got to slide back on her body and drive her forward first before she worries about that one's head. Young man directly in front of me did a smoke show job earlier today driving this red bear. I remember it very well in class. Get out here, and you two, when you want to come together, you have moments where you hit your stride great. Then you get up there and you start thinking, I got to get this dude's head looking cute. I'm going to be honest. Look, I'm going to be transparent as a judge here. There's showtime, and then there's showmanship time. And personally, when you get in showmanship time, you want to lay off their head about a third of what you did during the show, I'm cool with it. Because you're going to save gas, and you're going to get them so they're not quite as cantankerous. That Barry gets out here, and he drives, and that dude lays up off his head just a bit and drives the center part of his body and gets out there in the ring. Those two are a good team. We need to work on that just a skosh. Young lady right here, intense as anybody out here. Love her eye contact. Clearly, her composure, though, is so good because that Barrow handles himself extremely well. So what's the issue? Her turns and her laps and utilization of the ring gets pretty out there on the periphery, tries to bring them back. Probably try to mix it up, give me a bit different angle and try to come in there rather than taking quite as long of a horizontal turn. But that's just being picky within the group. I think they all do a great job. Please put your hands together for those that are going to get dismissed. We're going to work through our top end in this particular division. Fun group of showmen. If you could, please put your hands together for a really good top end in this particular division. It's been a lot of fun working with these guys, as you can tell. I can sense when this deal's going to start wearing thin, and so we're going to go ahead and get this wrapped up. We got 4 out here. I'll go ahead and run through 4 of them, and please give them something to take home with them. So within this set, 4th is going to be the young man in the shorts, keeping it nice and cool in the middle of the ring. Certainly appreciate his ability. Look, I'm going to get past the whole wardrobe standpoint. That's regardless for me right now. The biggest thing is how we driving the gilt. There's moments that dude turns it on and lights it up. I mean, that Gilt and him get out there and they get striding and rolling. I think his utilization in the ring's probably his biggest struggle. And then when he also rides up on her head just a bit, that ends up breaking her down a little faster. I think if those two relax, they get out rolling, and they hit their spots, they're really good. Ring utilization, a little bit of body placement, it's what sorts them in 4. 3rd's going to be the young man out of our prior division. Did a killer job all the way through, young man. Don't take this as an insult when you end up in 3rd in this division. I will tell you at the same time, for me, now we're stepping up in the bigger league, so getting the job just stuck isn't going to cut the mustard. Now we got to get out here, and there's going to be some nuances, right? When you go into your turns, young man, I know that Barrow's starting to wear thin on you because as you go into your turns, it's ultra aggressive. And when he goes in there, you got his head turned on a dime. We're almost doing a halter horse contest and pivoting him and then sticking him, aggressively, right in the middle part of the ring. That's great, but you're going to run out of gas at some point in the showmanship contest, and that's what happened. Nice job to the young man, though. Just relax a little bigger circles and still utilizing. I love your focus. You're a dang good stick. You got plenty of future ahead of you. My 2 ladies are what are left. Within this group, I think there are 2 laser-focused girls that as I'm out here, they make no bones about it. If these guys are going to be butt heads and going towards the out gate, they aren't cutting it. They're turning them back around. They're getting them out of there, and they're not accepting anything else. When we get within there, I think one of them uses just a little bit more variances in terms of angles coming to me and going away. Probably not just as much as hot laps right in front of me. Now we're actually taking it to another level, giving me a variety of views, utilizing the ring the way they need to. For me, 1st is the young lady directly in front of me. 2nd's the young lady right here. But a really good job by both of you young ladies.
Elaine McGuire is your intermediate showmanship champion.
I'm no mathematician, but I think I got 4 sorted off down there. We get in here and then sort with what I have left in here. Honorable mention in this group that I almost pulled is a young lady in the long sleeve purple sitting directly in front of me. I think she does a really good job. Love her eye contact and awareness. Love her demeanor and the way that Barrow's driving. Now we just need to go ahead and do a little bit more than just the comfort zone of floating on outside the bubble. Completely okay with hitting that on occasion. Let's mix it up and get in here on occasion and try to get up here in view and then utilize the outer edge. That's fine. Have no problem with it. That'd be my only nitpicky thing on her. Young man with the white hog does a nice job. Starts to crowd her head ever so slightly. Have no problem with him using a pipe. Zero issue with me on that. Just sliding back on that one's body is going to help him drive that one more effectively. Young exhibitor over there with the off-belt gilt driving that direction. Again, one of those that starts to ride their head, starts to get a bit aggressive in turns. Hog then turns out and wants to go ahead and head towards the out gate because they're not really a big fan of that. Young lady here that's closest to me, certainly one that I just want to see take it up another notch and be a bit more aggressive driving that one. Much could be said about the young lady with the long sleeve blue shirt as well. Please put your hands together for these exhibitors as they go ahead and exit, and we'll work through the top end of this particular division. I know it gets to be about downright dirty pool when you're standing down here by the out gate and you're letting them have to drive in front of you. It's not fair. But hey, we can't be nice to these older age division, right? We gotta sort the straw from the chaff. See what we gotta do. Within this particular group, I think it's a really good set of 4 showmen. They've done a bang-up job all day. If you could, please put your hands together. I'll go ahead and talk about your top 4. Fourth out of this particular lineup, young man, your cheetah pig looks good. You've done a nice job all day, but you're going to sit in 4. Out of this particular group, my encouragement to him, he's done a great job of being relatively aware of where I'm at. He tries to effectively get that Barrow stuck where it needs to be. I think at times that team gets a little bit, that Barrow gets a bit more concerned because he starts drifting. Look, I'm a tall guy too. And when we do that, pig's a little lower, we're trying to gravitate. We don't maybe at times have the longest utensil on the face of this planet. So when we do that, what do? We either have to bend a bit lower or we have to start crowding a bit up further. And when he starts crowding a bit up further, those two start doing the 2-step up around its head and neck. Then we start getting all discombobulated and off to the corner. Third out of this particular lineup is going to be the young lady with the red gilt on the outside. Certainly does a nice job. I appreciate what she did. Quite frankly, I thought, being completely candid, those two were a better team earlier today than they were right now. I thought those two came back out here, and they just were a little inconsistent in their ability to keep in stride and tempo. And I think as a result, then the showman gets a bit frustrated, starts getting up on her head, and then she turns her so sharp then right in on top of that. She's a good showman. I can tell she knows what she's doing. I think that team just had to jive a bit better today to go ahead and move on up. Second's going to be the young lady directly in front of me. She does a really good job. Loved her in division prior. She does a bang-up job when she gets back out here for a Barrow. It's been in this ring a hot minute. At the same time, when she gets out here, those two at times need to figure out how they want to transition into their turns, because when she does that, at times she kind of gets stagger step. They're not sure. The Barrow isn't sure. He kind of stops. If we can just slide back a bit more in his hip pocket and drive him forward around that turn, I think we get a more effective job done. Young man in front of me, you killed it. I mean, you did it from start to finish in this particular division. You've done exactly what I've tried to preach in this entire group. You haven't broke stride as a result. Congratulations, man. Go get a breather. You're going to probably have to come back. I think there's another division.
Tyler Kuntz is your senior showmanship champion. Do we have any other experts? Maybe we should give him a pattern. You want a pattern? We can stick all the ringmen out there and see how close you can get around them, run polls. Well, Tyler Kuntz is your expert showmanship champion too. Give him a big round of applause. Thank the audience for how they spread out and stayed spread out today. Thank the 4-Hers for everything they did to kind of stay clear. We will be here tomorrow afternoon for the beef show, so come join us for the beef show.